Hey there, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Live with the Times. Today we are going over the third Aliyah here in Chayeh Sarah. Thank you for being here. Appreciate you. I'm grateful to be here. Appreciate really being able to share this time with you, and to come and to learn together. And so, as we're talking about now, Abraham is sent off. His servant, his main chassid, the Rebbe sent off his chassid, his gabbai, to go perform the holy task of finding a wife for Yitzhak. And so we talk a lot about, as I mentioned yesterday, that this is a very Eliezer-centric parasha. And there's also another aspect, as we mentioned a couple weeks ago, whenever it was, right? Eliezer means Hashem is my helper, right? Hashem is my strength. And so we see here how Hashem is our strength, right? Yesterday we talked about it, that when a person wants to go from Madrega to Madrega, from level to level, they have to have Kalim corresponding to vessels. How do you create these vessels? With your mouth. And this is exactly what goes on over here, right? It says, it also talks about camels, 10 camels. You know, there's so much to be said about the camels. I pause here. So much to be said about the camels. Maybe we'll talk about the camels tomorrow, because there's so much to be said about the camels. I got to do more research on the camels, because really I haven't delved so much into the camels. I know there's a lot going on there with this. But he brings 10 camels here of his masters. He brings a bunch of gifts. He brings a lot of gold and all this stuff here because he wants to go and make a good first impression, which, spoiler, he definitely does with the family of Rivka, and maybe for not the right reasons, but we'll find out. And he goes and takes his camels, and what happens? He wants to make sure that he's successful. So on the way that he's there, he goes and he says something here. In this passage goes, "Vayomer Hashem Elokei Adayini Abraham Haklei Na Lefani Hayoim V'asei Chesed Im Adayini Abraham." Says, and he said, Hashem, God of my master Abraham, cause it to happen, please, before me today, that you do kindness, chesed, with my master Abraham. And he goes on and he says, I'm standing here at the well, the daughters of the people, and it goes on to talk about how Rivka went up and down, tending to the camels, and just a quick midrash, right, about that. Actually, it says that there was some sort of miracle here. At the ascent of this phrase is reference not to Rivka, but to the water. That the water would come over to Rivka, would rise up. So great was her virtue that a miracle happened when she came to the well. This is like her normal life. She would have these miracles going on about her. And we also see that there's a miracle with Batya, the mother, or the adoptive mother of Moshe, whose the Midrash says her arm extended. What does this Midrash even come to tell us? Right, that when a person's doing a holy task, miracles happen. Miracles happen when a person's doing a holy task, and they do them with simplicity. But especially here, right, with Eliezer, you see here that he praying, and it says, and before I was even done speaking, this whole thing happened. All right, let it be with the girl that I shall see, she'll drink. Right, and through her, they don't know that I've done kindness for my master. Right, Vahi hu terem, Kila, לדבר. והנה רבקה יוצאת אשר יולדה לבתואל, בן מלכה אשר נחו אחי אברהם, וחדה בכל שכמה. That it was all before he even finished speaking, that finally all of a sudden Rivka showed up, person who was born to Bethuel, the son of Milcah, the wife of Nahor, the brother of Abraham, with her jug upon her shoulder. You would think, wow, I mean, of course. Listen, he came with the blessing of his Rebbe, and he, of course, is going to be successful. And of course, Eliezer, he learned under his Rebbe, under Abraham. So, of course, he knows the power of prayer and all these kind of things, right? But very, very interesting thing comes up here that also corresponds to something that we talked about last week with Lot, and that is a shalshelet. There's 4 times in the Torah that we get this cantillation. Maybe if you heard it from last week, you remembered it. Or maybe if you heard it from the drash that I gave, you thought about it when it came up or whatever. Maybe you hadn't noticed it before. But 3 times it happens in Sefer Bereshit. Another time in Vayikra, I think, like I said. But as I mentioned, all things correspond to the first, meaning that we're able to glean insights later on, and when it comes to different words that we learn in the Torah, goes back to something that, of course, that it's related to in the very first time that a word's given. And so too here with the shalshelet, right? That Lot went, and when did the shalshelet first appear? It first appeared when Lot was being told, yo, you got to leave now. We are going to end the city. Sodom is going to be blown up. We're dropping the nukes now. Time for you to skedatsky. Time for you to get out of here. And it said, and he delayed. He dilly-dallied, I believe is the direct translation. Right? And the angel had to come and yank him by the arm. Said, get out here. What is wrong with you? And so this aspect of delay, of dilly-dallying, carries with it the weight forward. Anytime we see the shalshelet, that there's some sort of hesitation that goes on here. So when we say that Vayomer Hashem, this is Vayomer Hashem, when he was speaking to Hashem, the God of Abraham, of his master Abraham, to please let it happen for today, he really didn't want it to happen, right? As I mentioned, Eliezer, he's sitting here praying. He's got in his head, I could be brother-in-law with Abraham. How? If my daughter marries Yitzhak, then we're going to be family. And then I will be elevated. I'm going to be I'm going to be top dude. I'm going to be there. Me and him are going to be making moves together. I'm not going to just be his chassid anymore. I'm now going to be his brother-in-law. I'm going to be elevated and bring me a lot of prestige and, of course, be closer to my Rebbe and everything like this. But this was his desire in his heart, in his head. And this is even how he started the prayer. He started with hesitation. Do I really want to go on this mission? Do I really want to be successful? Do I really want to pray for this? Because he knew that once you pray, it's going to happen. If Hashem lets you open your mouth for something, you can take it to the bank. Just meaning how much prayer are you going to need for it. And if it doesn't happen, then that prayer goes somewhere else for you for something else. Right? It goes in your storehouse for something. But point being is that he knew. So what's this doubt? Does it mean that his prayer was no good? Or that we can just pray with not confidence and not knowing if something's going to happen and still going to be effective? Nah. You have to be very confident in your prayer. Right? So what happens here that this is different? First and foremost, sometimes we don't know what we're even saying until we open up our mouths in prayers. Sometimes we don't even know what we're going to say, and even more so, we don't even know what's in our head. One of the reasons why Rabbi Nachman talks about his Bodhidu so much and why it's such a important practice is because it brings out what's really within. So many times we have things that are bothering us, and we running around like a chicken with their head cut off, and we don't know what to do. And you can come to the field, and you can go, if your field is the office, wherever it is that you talk to Hashem, you go and you talk to Hashem, and now all of a sudden you have some clarity, and you have a way of attacking this issue that you have, and you have it. And even though nothing's happened yet, you know where to go with it. And at the very least, you know that, okay, great, we're moving in that direction, right? And you have some peace with this. instead of it being in your head, right? As we're saying in recovery, the addictions grow in the dark. So as long as we're hiding some things, as long as we're putting things down, or shoving it in the bottom, and we're just trying our best to achieve a goal, but we're not bringing Hashem into it, we're going to continue to be frustrated. And sometimes we don't even know that it's a issue or a source of frustration until we open our mouths and the words start coming out. We're like, oh my gosh, this is such a thing. I didn't realize that I'm actually so bothered by this. Or we're bothered by it, we know it is, and we don't even know how to handle it. And then we start praying and we start coming up with ideas, and Hashem is helping us in this regard. Right? So that's one thing, is that he now was able to have some sort of clarity. But another thing is he really did have that doubt. He really did want to be the brother-in-law of Abraham. But what do you say? He started praying in the merit of Abraham. He started praying because he had a duty to commit. He had something important that he had to finish. He had to finish the job. It wasn't because he wanted to do it or didn't want to do it. He did it because he was commanded to do it by his master, by his Rebbe. And with this duty, he now had a different sense of obligation, a different sense of achievement, and a reason to go and do it. This is his why. Yeah, it's not what I wanted, but I know that for sure this is good. And now he can move forward with confidence. He may have started off with some doubt, and now he gets some little bit of extra fortitude to be able to pray in the right way. And so to us, don't think that because you're praying and you're not sure and you want, and you can pull in from your, even if you don't have the true desire, you can pull in with a sense of duty. And in this way, we can strengthen our prayers and make them from a place of where we are sure, when we have doubt and we're hesitant, to a place of full emunah, a place of really, really, really having a lot of bitachon and believing in our prayers. A person should always believe in their prayers. And what happened here is that immediately this happened. If you look earlier, right, it was supposed to be a 3-day tour, 3-day mission to get to where he was supposed to get to. He ended up getting there in the same day. Why? Because he was praying. The story of the Baal Shem Tov, many stories about the Baal Shem Tov that include this particular aspect, that he would often jump into the wagon with some of his Hasidim, and they would close the window, put everything down, and the Rebbe would start mumbling to himself what it appeared to be. What was he doing? He was davening Hashem. And then a trip that would have taken all night takes a few minutes, or a trip that would have taken multiple days takes just a few hours. And he would open up the window and, here we are. They just appear someplace. Right? And this is what happens as well with prayer. That prayer is taking us leaps and bounds farther than we could if we were just trying our best. I saw this meme this week, this saying this week that said, pray as if it's all up to God, but work as if it's all up to you. Right? We have to pray so hard and know that Hashem is doing everything for us. And that doesn't dismiss us from the obligation of having to work so hard for it and put in all the effort that we have to do. So how many times people are like, sit back and wait for something to happen. Oh, I'm praying. Yeah, no, right? You got to buy a lottery ticket to win the lotto, right? But then also, a person can be working so hard and they're beating themselves up and beating their head against the wall. They don't know how to progress, and they're just doing it on their own without Hashem. They're both wrong. Right? A person has to put in and do the histadlus, right? But when a person starts off, and even though they have doubts and they have hesitancies, and they bring in their sense of purpose, we're going to see really that we're continuing to build a kalim, that we're continuing to have miracles in our life, to see ourselves grow and leaps and bounds. And this way we're really zoicha to achieve all of our goals, to build the kalim that we need to have, to absorb all the light that Hashem wants to give us. Hashem wants to give us so much light that more than a calf wants to drink, the mother wants to give. And so Hashem wants to give us everything, as we're saying, to be blessed by kol with everything, with true munah. And so we should be zoichet to please God, allow us to open up our lips in prayer, to trust in you, that even when we don't have that trust, to go and to open our lips anyways and to reach inside and to find a reason why we do believe in our prayer and know that it will be successful. And this way we're going to see miracles that are beyond belief, that we're achieving things faster than we thought we could. For myself, my family, for yourself, for your family, for all of Am Yisrael, for everybody around the world. Excuse me, for the coming of the third Beis Hamikdash, Moshiach Tzidkeinu, Be'ahava, and Shalom, speedily in our days, L'chaim, in our days, Mamash today, L'chaim.